Okay, I'm going to wait another minute or two. If you're really not sure, have no earthly idea, you can put, I don't know, right? Or just put a question mark, right? I just need to see that you're attempting each one. This is just for practice, just kind of keeping all these ideas fresh in our minds. And when you finish, make sure to go to participants and click the green check so that I know that you're done, or that you've at least had time to read each one and look at them all and try them before I go over them. Hold on 1 second. It's
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking on
impaired, yeah. No, it's okay. I mean, this is all new to me too. There's a lot to learn to navigate all this. Yes, and do so quickly. Are you done?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll wait. As soon as you get back, we'll start, okay? And again, y'all, don't worry so much about if all the answers are correct. It's a participation grade. It's just practice. Yes, sir. You don't need to submit. Yeah, I was just telling people to go back to the Zoom and click the green check on the participants tab, just to let me know that they're done. But since you guys are here, I know it's more for the people who are at home right now, because I can tell when y'all are done. You're relaxing. Yeah. All right. So as soon as Mr. Wisnick gets back, we'll go over these. And again, it's just a nice, simple participation grade, which should help some of you guys. And I think it'll help keep a lot of this information fresh. And I wanted to start today with stuff that we had learned in previous weeks to make sure that we haven't lost any of that information. Yeah, I know a student painted us a couple of years ago, probably about 8 years now. I've been looking for another student to do that side of the wall around the windows. But yeah, well, that's a whole nother level of, it's pretty incredible.
I'm gonna try to draw that.
Yeah, well, if you could draw, and you could always just draw it with pencil and then go over it with Sharpie on my wall. Like, you guys ever been in Neilio's room? Yeah, he had that crazy Sharpie art. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Mr. Wisnick will just join us when he returns. So let's go over these together, all right? Let's look at number 1. Carbohydrates, such as sucrose, provide our cells with blank energy. So why do we need carbs? When we eat carbs in our diet, are we looking for short-term energy or long-term energy? We need short-term energy, right? If you ate candy, if you drank soda, there's going to be lots of carbs, lots of sugars. You're going to experience a sugar rush, right? Your energy level is going to go through the roof, but then maybe 15 minutes, 30 minutes later, you're going to crash. Because carbohydrates or sugars, such as sucrose, which this is actually table sugar, your body's going to break that down fast. You're going to get a surge of energy, but it's not going to last a long time. So carbs are for the short term. Now, in plants can also make types of carbs for structure, like the cell wall. right? So what makes plants strong and rigid, since they don't have bones, they make their structures out of a sugar known as cellulose, which is a polysaccharide. Now, our bodies can take simple sugars like sucrose and glucose, and we can store them for the short term in our muscles. Do you guys remember what that muscle sugar is? It's why the guy and the gal can go to the gym. That's glycogen, and that is a polysaccharide version of a carbohydrate. So for the most part, when you hear carbs, think short-term energy. If you know anyone who's ever gone a low-carb diet, right? I have a couple friends that have gone on low-carb diets to lose weight, and the thing they always complain about is, I feel so tired. If you want to experience this for one day, don't eat any sugar, no fruit, no soda, no sweet tea, no bread, no pasta, no rice, right? You will feel so tired until your body adjusts, right? Okay, let's look at number 2. Human cell membranes, which is just the outside of a cell, contain both phospholipids and cholesterol. Both of these are examples that belong to what major group of biomolecules? How would we classify phospholipids and cholesterol? Is it a carbohydrate, a lipid, protein, or nucleic acid? Look at the words carefully. Yeah, that's a lipid, right? Phospholipids. So phospholipids and cholesterol are a type of fat, right, that our cells use to protect themselves, to kind of cover the outside. Right. And scientists don't make up these words to try to confuse you. They're trying to tell you a lot with as few words as possible. Phospholipid literally translates to a lipid with a phosphate attached to it. Now, cholesterol can be a little hard to remember, but if any of your parents or any of your family members are overweight or have heart disease, like my father has a heart condition, he has to be very careful. He has to watch his blood cholesterol. And so in his diet, to keep his cholesterol low, he has to be careful not to eat too many lipids. So he has to avoid lots of fats, lots of oils, and lots of waxes. So a fried chicken sandwich is not going to be good for my father because it's got a lot of grease, a lot of fat in it. Whereas a piece of grilled chicken would have less fat, therefore less cholesterol. Cholesterol is really important because we also use cholesterol to make testosterone and estrogen. So what we see in countries where children are malnourished, their bodies can't make enough testosterone, they can't make enough estrogen, and those are developmental hormones, right? That determines puberty. And so if a kid doesn't get enough food and enough nutrition, their bodies struggle to go through puberty, right? And they'd have stunted growth because of the lack of lipids available to make testosterone and estrogen. DNA and RNA are both nucleic acid polymers. They contain, or that contain many subunits known as what? What are nucleic acids made of? I'll give you a hint. These are tied together to make nucleic acids. It sounds like a nucleic acid. It's a nucleotide, exactly. So nucleotides are what form nucleic acids. So DNA and RNA, these are huge molecules. They could be made of millions of nucleotides linked together. If you took every single molecule of DNA in your body and linked them end to end, it'd probably reach around the earth a couple hundred times. You've got tons of DNA, but it's microscopic in your body, made of tons of nucleotides. Amino acids are the building blocks of what? If you're an athlete, you're going to be concerned with building muscle. And so you know that you need to eat a lot of what to get the necessary amino acids? Proteins. Amino acids are what our bodies make protein out of. Now you have to remember, not all proteins are exactly the same. Different proteins have different amino acids. As an athlete, right, you can go and study the amino acids that your body needs to make skeletal muscles. You can go to GNC and you can buy those specific amino acids for skeletal muscles. If if you want healthier hair and healthier fingernails, which are both proteins, you can figure out what amino acids are in them, and then you can go to GNC and get a supplement. Or you can go and look and see what kinds of foods have those amino acids and eat them to improve your overall health. There are even amino acids that our bodies use to make immune system proteins, known as antibodies. So eating protein is an important part of our diet, not just for our muscles, but for our hair, our fingernails, for the connective tissue in our bodies, as well as our immune systems. Now, is that to say that if you're a vegetarian or a vegan, that you're going to have a weaker immune system and weaker? No, because plants have tons of proteins in them as well, right? The reason that you associate meat with protein is because it's just a higher concentration, right? If you wanted to get your daily needs for protein, you could eat 6 ounces of steak and have all the protein you'd ever need for a day. Whereas if you were eating plants, fruits and vegetables and grains, you would need to eat more than just a couple ounces. All right, let's look at number 5. What are the reactants needed for photosynthesis? So what do plants need?
Light.
They need light, water, what gas? Carbon dioxide, that's right. So there you go. Those are the 3 things. If you give those to plants, they're going to be happy. Give them sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. And with those 3 things, they will be able to perform photosynthesis. So my plants in the back of my classroom, they have plenty of light. I watered them on Monday, and we are actually breathing out carbon dioxide right now. So we are giving them the gas that they need. So they are busy right now producing what? Oxygen, and we could eat them if we wanted to, but actually most of those back there are poisonous. But what's inside of them? What else are they making? Oxygen and what sugar? Starts with a G. Glucose. They're making glucose. And believe it or not, that one right there, the really, really big one, that's actually a pineapple plant. The one right here in the middle, that's like really like sticking out to the sides. That's a pineapple plant. Yeah, well, it doesn't produce a pineapple yet, but I'll show you guys how to harvest the top of a pineapple. So every pineapple you've ever eaten, that little green top, you can plant it. That's what I did right there. 4 years ago, we ate a pineapple in class. I twisted off the top. We put it in a beaker of water. It grew roots. And then I made a special soil solution. And here it is 4 years later. The only reason it hasn't produced a fruit yet is because it's not getting the right temperature and the right amount of light. If I were to put that bad boy outside over the course of summer, we'd get a pineapple. Well, I'll show you guys how to do it. I'll show you. All right, moving on to the next one. Number 6, what organelle contains chlorophyll? And it performs it sounds like chlorophyll. What organelle performs photosynthesis? It contains the chlorophyll. It sounds like chlorophyll. Chloroplast. The chloroplast is the tiny little green jelly bean inside of plant cells that performs photosynthesis. And it's hard to pronounce, right? No matter what language, because that's actually mostly Latin and Greek. When we do our cell lab, I'll actually show you guys how to take samples from those plants. You'll cut them up, and we'll look at their cells under a microscope. And I'll show you the chloroplast, and I'll show you what they do when you give them water, carbon dioxide, and light. Okay, last one, guys. This one's kind of challenging. This kind of goes back to our lunar greenhouse video that I shared with you guys last week. If a scientist wanted to decrease the rate of photosynthesis for plants being grown in a lab, they could change what environmental factors? If a scientist wanted to slow a plant down, if you wanted the plant not to grow, you'd make it colder. What, temperatures for one. What did you say? If you want it to go down, if you want it to slow down, you want the plant to be really slow, you can make it colder. Right, but if you make it cold enough, no plant likes it really cold. What else can we change? If you had a plant inside, it was getting too tall, and you're like, man, if it gets any taller, it's not going to fit in this room. Yeah, take it away from the sunlight. Move it into a darker corner, right? So we give it less sunlight. We keep it cooler. What if you watered it less? Do you think it'd grow slower? Okay, so if you watered it just less, right? It's not going to die immediately. My cactus I water in the wintertime once every 2 months, right? Yeah, there's some more cactus right behind you too.
That's a cactus, though. That's like
But most plants, if you give them less water, they'll slow down. And last but not least is carbon dioxide. My plants in here actually grow more slowly when you guys are not here. Like during the summer months, they're getting plenty of sunshine, plenty of water, and plenty of warm temperature. But I'm the only person in here. And so I'm not giving them enough carbon dioxide, right? But then when my students come back, you guys are constantly exhaling carbon dioxide, which they use to make sugars. That's why I have those plants in here to actually clean the air, right? And I guarantee you, of all the classes here at Patton High School, the air in this room is probably the cleanest, because that's one of the things that plants do for us. They take harmful particles out of the air, and they filter it, and they release just pure oxygen and sometimes water vapor. Well, that's why most office buildings have lots of plants, and I think most school classrooms should have plants as well. But it takes a lot to take care of a plant. You need to have a fundamental understanding of biology. All right, so for those of you guys at home, what I would like for you to do now is finish your vocab, and if you've already finished your vocab, I would like for you to go to under Unit 3, and I would like for you to find the videos on the respiration lectures. So here we go, lecture cell metabolism. And then today, for those of you at home, I think that you guys should try to watch at least 3.4, and if not 3.4 and 3.5. So those two videos, right, or at the very least 3.4, and work on that section in your notes, okay? So if you're at home right now or a virtual academy, you guys are free to sign off. For those of you guys in class, please stay on, all right? So if you're at home, go ahead, you can check out and go get started on your videos, or finish your vocab if you have not done that already. Okay, for those of you guys that are here, if you would like, and I think this would be really helpful, I have a stack of paper right here. If you want to, and I think it'd be helpful, if you have if you have your own paper and pencil, you can use that too. But if you didn't bring paper, if you want to grab a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, I would like for you guys to draw what I'm about to draw on my screen. I'm going to introduce cellular respiration, and I'm a visual learner. Diagrams make sense to me, right? So if you want to grab a piece of paper, if you have your own paper, you can use that too, or paper and pencil. Yeah, there you go. Yes, sir. Nice. Good. Yeah. Do you have a lot of colors?
Huh?
Are they a lot of different colors, or are they all the same color?
They're all the same color, but they're different, like, tones.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Like, some of them are different, like, they're not all the same.
Sounds good. All right. So, again, if you just kind of draw what I draw, can you guys see my screen all right? The blank white screen? Okay, awesome. All right. And so first thing we're going to talk about.
Is it like a certain way you like turn your faces?
Nope. I would maybe do it like wide ways. Yeah, kind of like my computer screen. My computer screen's a little wider than it is tall. Okay. And so here we have our tree, right? And we know that our tree is a autotroph. And what does that mean? If something is an autotroph, it has the ability to do what? Is it a producer or a consumer? Producer, right? Because plants produce food, right? Like this plant could produce apples or oranges or cherries or pears, right? It's a producer. It produces food. Now, the tree is producing the food for itself, right? And it does this with photosynthesis. You'll have to excuse my handwriting. I don't know if you guys have ever tried to write with a mouse. It's tough. My handwriting is not the best either, even with paper and pencil. So this is exceptionally challenging.
I'm getting used to it.
Ooh. Did you break your wrist on a dirt bike or something?
Not across.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it to you. Yeah, my brothers played high school lacrosse.
Yeah.
And my one brother, he's about 245-pound middle linebacker. That was like football was his premier sport. And I remember one of the lacrosse games, he played defender long pole, and he came into a midi and kind of just like lost his balance and went shoulder first into the kid's leg and broke the kid's femur, which is like your thigh bone. And that was pretty intense.
I was on defense and I was blocking this guy's shot, and he just followed through a shot and caught my finger and pulled it back. And
Woo-hoo. Oh man, it's like nightmare.
it happened so fast. I thought it was a jam. I took my glove and my hand just
And just the hand is looking crazy. So we got our autotroph, our tree. It needs to perform photosynthesis, right? And so the roots are going to be what supply one of the necessary reactants, and that would be water, right? And so that's the primary function of plant roots, right? They get water up from the ground and pull it, and they need to take it up to the leaves, right? Because where does photosynthesis happen? It happens in the leaves, right? So photosynthesis is going to happen up here. And so the water needs to be brought from deep in the ground up to the leaves, right? Well, the plant also needs a gas. What gas do plants breathe in? Carbon dioxide, right? And they do so through tiny little openings at the bottom of their leaves called stoma, right? And I'll show you guys how to look at those under a microscope. It's pretty incredible. You know, I'm not making this stuff up. And I think once you guys see it, you're like, all right, that makes sense. So these tiny little holes in the bottom of the leaves let carbon dioxide in. And we still need one more thing, and that would be our sunlight. And I know my sunlight looks like lightning, but yeah. Does it have to be sunlight? Can you grow plants inside? Yeah, absolutely, right? Can you grow plants inside with any light bulb? No. No. In fact, if you go to like Home Depot and you buy one of those like warm light bulbs that you'd have at like a nightstand or at your dresser, it's not bright enough, right? You need a light bulb that gives off more of the blue color, right? Because that's what plants really get excited about. Yeah, heating lamps would make it nice and warm, but the heat lamps give off more heat than they do light. Light and heat aren't necessarily the same thing. And that's why those heat lamps for like chickens, it won't bother the chickens at night because it doesn't make your eyes think it's daytime. They just feel the warmth and it feels good, but it doesn't bother their sleep. Okay, so the plant needs water from the roots, carbon dioxide from the air, and sunlight. Now, once the plant has all of that, it can then produce glucose. Well, again, just a very, very simple sugar. And the plant can use the sugar for itself, for short-term energy to grow. It can use that sugar to make cell walls, to get stronger, all kinds of things. And then the plant can also release oxygen. Because believe it or not, plants produce way more oxygen than they could ever use. In fact, they have to get rid of the extra oxygen as a waste product. Otherwise, it can actually damage some of the cells in a plant, which is kind of crazy to think about. That's how much oxygen they produce. And that's great for us, right? Because a single tree, a single mature oak tree, I think can supply enough oxygen for 8 people. right? And so that's a very helpful thing, or a helpful waste product, right? And so now let's focus on us. Okay, so there's Mr. Collins, right? Now, I don't make my own sugar. I don't produce my own food. So we're not producers, we're consumers. And the scientific term for that is heterotroph. Because in science, hetero means different, right? So we are a heterotroph. So I need to get my energy from a different organism. So I need to eat. I need to eat animals. I need to eat plants. I can eat fungus. I can eat all kinds. You can eat insects. I've eaten insects before. Highest concentration of protein per gram. I was in Thailand, and it was fried crickets. It was actually quite good. It tastes like potato chips. They just put it in a big wok with sesame oil and a bunch of Thai chilies and spices. It don't look like crickets anymore, you know, because it's all fried and crispy, and they sprinkle like stuff in there, and you're just munching it. It's actually, it was interesting.
I've had spicy
You're a spicy grasshoppers?
very, very spicy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, all the food in Thailand was spicy. You know, you go to a restaurant and I'd say, "Nit noi cob," which means like a little spicy. Oh, and I would eat it, and I'd be sweating bullets and coughing and sneezing. That was crazy. All right. So, how do I take the sugar from the plant, and how do I use it? How do I convert it to energy? Well, we call this respiration. So we all know that we need to breathe, but you don't know why. You know you need oxygen, but you don't know why. And I'm about to tell you why. You need oxygen to perform respiration. So respiration takes the sugar from our food. It takes oxygen from the air. And then we produce water. We exhale carbon dioxide. And when we break the food down, we release energy. And that energy that is released when we break down food is known as ATP, right? And I'll write that underneath. Now, when I first learned about this when I was younger, I was like, that's pretty incredible, right? Because the things that plants produce are the two exact things that we need to survive. And the two things that we produce are the two things that plants need to survive, right? And so you've got this animal-plant relationship between photosynthesis and cellular respiration, right? The plants need us, we need the plants. Now, later on in our discussion, you'll learn that plants need us a whole lot less than we need them, right? If we disappeared, if all the animals on planet Earth disappeared tomorrow, the plants would survive. They would not be able to grow as fast, they would not be able to spread, but they'd survive. Whereas if all the plants died tomorrow, we'd be gone in about a week or two, right? Because we would starve to death. We don't have enough preserved foods to feed the 7.3 billion people on planet Earth, right? We need plants because you might say, well, I don't even really like salad. You know, I eat chicken. What do you think chickens eat, right? What do you think cows eat, right? We have to have those plants. So even if you're a carnivore or a meatitarian, you know, you're still relying on those plants for your energy. You're a meatitarian? All right, now, There's one more thing we're going to draw before I turn you guys loose. So do you guys have that drawn down? We're going to take a look at where exactly a lot of cell respiration is going to take place. Where or what parts of our body do you think need the most energy? Your muscles. What muscle in particular works and has been working since the day you're born, and when it stops working, we'll pronounce you your heart, right? And so our muscles, right? So our muscles and our heart, they need lots of energy, right? And so let's talk about what is going on inside of our heart and what is going on inside of our muscles. Don't smoke, don't smoke. And actually, one of the main reasons that smoking causes so many problems that it does is when you breathe in that smoke, there's a lot of other stuff in there, right? And I'm talking both right-handed cigarettes and left-handed cigarettes. I don't care if we're talking about smoking a joint or smoking a cigarette. There's particulate matter in that smoke. When you breathe it in, it gets stuck in the mucus of your lungs. And you might cough it up, but you're not going to cough it all up. And if you keep inhaling it day in and day out, those particles accumulate. And eventually they can cause the mucus in your lungs to start to dry up. And you'd almost get the equivalent of a booger, but now it's inside of your lungs. But if you can't cough it up, what's going to eventually happen to it? It's going to start to rot. It's going to start to break down. And now we're talking about something that's stuck to the inside of your lung breaking down. Causes infections. Now, the lung tissue might heal, but it usually scars. And I don't know if you guys have any scars on your body. I got some pretty serious scars. Yeah, when you have scars, when your skin heals, does it ever return to normal? No, it never sweats, won't grow hair anymore. Yeah. Now imagine a scar on your lung. Once it scars, it doesn't have the same function. And so from habitually smoking, it can inhibit your body's ability to absorb oxygen. And that's what happens with COPD or emphysema, right? You breathe and you can't get as much oxygen. I can always spot a smoker from 100 miles away. You just walk them go up a flight of stairs. They go up a flight of stairs, and by the time they get to the top, they got their hands on their hips or their hands on their knees, gasping for air, right? And it significantly inhibits their ability to produce ATP through respiration. All right, can I clear this drawing really quick? Okay. All right. So, where or what kind of cells are respiration going to take? Where's a lot of this going to happen? In muscles, right? So, if we were to look at a muscle cell, right? They're going to be kind of long, just like our muscles, right? And inside of our muscle cells, so this would be a muscle cell. Inside of our muscle cells, we have these crazy little organelles. And if we were talking about a well-trained athlete, you're going to have lots of these. If the only marathon you ever participate in is a Netflix marathon, you're not going to have very many of these. But if you exercise regularly, you're going to have tons of these little organelles inside of your muscle cells. And we call these the mitochondria, the mighty mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell. And these guys, these little tiny organelles are what takes oxygen and sugar, usually glucose. The mitochondria will take the oxygen and the sugar, it'll break it down to release energy into your cell so that your muscle can contract. And so you can run, you can lift weights, you can talk, you can breathe. And it also produces a waste gas, like we had talked about earlier, carbon dioxide, and it'll also release some water. And we call this breakdown of glucose with oxygen, the true full scientific name is aerobic respiration. What do you think aerobic means? It does. It sounds like something that you're going to have in the Olympics. So swimming and running are aerobic exercises. When you run and when you swim, what do you have to do a lot of? You have to breathe.
That's why I said something related to air.
Yes. It's related to air. Aerobic respiration means we have to have oxygen. So that's aerobic respiration. Okay? So that's what's happening in our muscles right now, aerobic respiration. You're using oxygen to break down glucose to provide energy. All right, so what I would like for you guys to do now is spend the next 20 or so minutes finishing up your vocab. Yes, if you have finished your vocab, I know some of you in this room have plenty of missing assignments, and you could be working on your missing assignments. If you've done your vocab and if you're all caught up, what you need to start working on is your cellular respiration notes. If you brought your headphones, you can watch let me pull it up on here. You can watch this video right here, 3.4 aerobic respiration with your headphones, and you could start filling out your note sheet, right? So here's the deal, y'all. All we need to make sure to do is while we're in class, we need to be getting our work done. All right. The more work you get done while you're here at school, the less work you do at home. Right. So let's go ahead and get started. If you need help with anything, please don't hesitate to ask.